Atlanta's season might be done. They fall to 4-6. They have lost 3 in a row, a 25-23 Cardinals win. Apologies for the lack of voice. Blame Atlanta's defense, because I'll say this right off the bat. Everyone wants to blame Arthur Smith, and Arthur Smith is definitely a guilty man right now. And everyone wants to blame Taylor Heinicke or Desmond Ridder and the offense in some way, shape, or form. But can we have a conversation about this defense? Kyler Murray in his first game back, putting up 25 points. Will Levis in his first NFL start, putting up over 20 points. Last week, Josh Dobbs, traded on Tuesday, comes into the game on Sunday, 75-yard drive at the end of the game. Everyone wants to have the easy, simple take of, oh, it's Heinicke's fault, or it's Arthur Smith's fault. How about the defense taking some ownership over this 3-game losing streak? Because the offense had put the defense in positions in 2 straight games where they make a stop, Atlanta wins. Defense crumbled 2 straight weeks. Back-to-back weeks, ball was in defense's court. Make a stop, win the game. Let up a score, lose the game. And 2 straight weeks, all shoulders. Nothing from the defense. Nothing to show for. But we do have to talk about the quarterback position, because Taylor Heinicke did not give us a very inspiring game. I mean, he did not attempt his first pass 10 yards or more down the field until the fourth quarter. 8 for 15, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, he went down with a hamstring injury, but it did not look like it was a very serious injury, and if they desperately needed him, I feel like he could have gone back in that game. So instead, Desmond Ridder comes off the bench. First time we saw him since the first half against Tennessee. And he goes 4 for 6, 36 yards, no throwing touchdowns, but 1 rushing touchdown. And once again, we see Desmond Ridder bring a little bit of something extra to this offense. Now, he has no problem turning it over, although this time he was able to hold on to the football. But there is something to a Desmond Ridder-led Falcons offense brings an extra weapon in the red zone if he's not turning it over with his own 2 legs. But I want to toss this your way. Atlanta goes into the bye with a lot of soul-searching to do, a lot of work to do, and a lot of questions to be answered. But who should be starting for Atlanta coming out of the bye? I'll go with Desmond Ridder. I mean, this is coming from one of the most Desmond Ridder critical analysts going into the season. But the turnovers were awful, putrid, costing them games at times. At least they moved the ball down the field. At least they completed passes beyond 10 yards with Desmond Ridder. The only thing that had to be solved were the turnovers. So if you can kind of get the turnovers down to a minimum, at least Desmond Ridder's led offense moves the ball more than 55 passing yards that Taylor Heinicke had. 30 yards, 32 yards at the half. We need to see more. Overall, Atlanta's offense, powered by the ground game. 41 carries, 184 yards. Arthur Smith clearly got the memo on give number 7 the football. Bijan Robinson in this game had 22 carries for 95 yards, a rushing touchdown. He had 11 carries in the last 2 games. 22 carries combined over that stretch. He matches the last 2 games combined in 1 game today in front of his home crowd at home in his home state of Arizona. And Bijan showing us that he has that big play factor. And sure, there are moments where they're getting 2 or 3 yards and it's not feeling like this ground game is really churning out a whole lot, but it's way better than the passing game. So at least Arthur Smith recognized that and leaned into his strengths a little bit more. I mean, let me ask you this question as you guys look at some of these stats. If I told you before the game, Atlanta scores 23 points, I bet you're thinking the Falcons win this game. But I go back to where I started my video. This defense, 2 straight games, just crumbling under pressure. 2 straight games to do all the celebrations they want, put all the turnover chains they want on, do all the Instagram lives in the locker rooms they want. And unfortunately, they can't stop a nosebleed in the fourth quarter. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, Prize Picks. Now, what is Prize Picks? Well, Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of player and stat types, Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So, for Sunday Night Football, these are my selections between the Jets and the Raiders. It's a great way to stay engaged into what could be a bit of a sleeper. I've got Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams combining for more than a half a touchdown. I've got Zach Wilson less than 207.5 passing yards total. And I got the more on Josh Jacobs, 67.5 rushing yards. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's talk about Arizona's offense and naturally Atlanta's defense. 315 total yards, 230 passing yards. Kyler Murray's first game back, he was running all over the place. He looked like that #1 overall pick that we had seen so many times. 26 carries for 122 yards. Luckily, Nate Landman came up with a huge INT, huge interception. Nate Landman, just give him his roses for a moment. Takes over from Troy Anderson after a season-ending injury. And you can make a fair argument Nate Landman has been the best defender on this team after Jesse Bates, who had a great start to the year, but unfortunately we haven't seen the turnovers from #3 in the last month or so. But Kyler Murray, to take a closer look at him, 19 for 32, 249 yards. He was linking up with his tight end, Trey McBride, every single play. Ryan Nielsen, this defense, had no solution for Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. And then you just know Kyler Murray is going to run it as well, especially in that last drive. I mean, he had him back at his own 20-yard line, and he somehow comes away with that, rushing for over 15 yards and to get the Cardinals pretty much in field goal range. 1 rushing touchdown, and then Trey McBride just completely killed Atlanta. 8 grabs, 131 yards. I know you were a little bit banged up in the secondary going into this game, like D. Alford, Clark Phillips, the rookie, gets a start and whatnot, but no solution for Trey McBride at all. And there are moments where you can be mad at yourself and go like, why do we suck? I think this is one of those moments where you go, Trey McBride's a really good tight end, so give him credit more than just we're bad, and that's why he looked good. But still, this Falcons defense, unfortunately, is light years away from where they started this week or started this season, right? Making big plays, shutting teams down, just being a great overall improvement from last year. Now we're seeing more of the 2022 Falcons defense down the stretch here. And that was my fear, that if you did not add more depth to this pass rush, and losing Grady Jarrett sucks. So we get in the second half of the year, and we get in the second half of games. Some older guys, Bud Dupree, Calais Campbell, like not spring chickens, running after quarterbacks in double-digit weeks in the fourth quarter. Well, we saw the result of that. So who do you blame for this loss? Arthur Smith? I don't think I'm not going to be starting a fire Arthur Smith campaign mid-season. At 4-6, there's a lot of football to be played, but Arthur Smith's seat is definitely warming up. If you want one piece of good news, well, we can look at the rest of the NFC South results for a moment, but make sure to subscribe to the channel because we're reaching 16,300 subscribers any moment now, 7 subs away. So help us reach that milestone, help this channel grow, and get more Falcons recaps after games when you subscribe. So some good news. New Orleans, who was at the top of the division, lost today. Derek Carr, unfortunately, went down with what appeared to be a shoulder injury, if I remember correctly. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, and being checked for a concussion. So the Vikings take care of business, kind of help the Falcons out a little bit in that department. However, the Bucs, they are right back into the thick of things. 20-6 win over the Titans. So we have a logjam in the NFC South. You have Atlanta at 4-6. You have New Orleans at 5-5. And you have Tampa Bay at 4-6 as well, I believe, right now. 4-5. They were 3-5 coming in today. That's right. So 4-5, 4-6, and 5-5. The Falcons come out of the bye. They have 2 games against New Orleans. Their season is still right in front of them. 2 games against New Orleans. You control your destiny. Win those 2 games, take over the division lead. but you give yourself no slack after losing to a one-win Cardinals team. Unacceptable. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Make sure to subscribe one last time if you have not already. We're going to keep you guys up to speed in the loop all season long for all things Falcons.